Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Together in Style. Today we are live and I thought I'd do a little tech talk today regarding Lumix cameras. And I have a lot of Lumix cameras sitting over here to share with you guys. I am a professional photographer. I am also considering myself a photo enthusiast because I just adore photography. It's been a part of my life ever since I was about 7 years old, growing up with a father and a brother who were incredibly involved in photography, built a darkroom in the house, and it's just been a lifelong journey for me. And along that journey, I've been through a lot of different cameras, to say the least. And it was, around a couple of years ago when I started moving into the mirrorless camera scenario from the DSLR world, just because I was carrying so much as a DSLR user. I was capturing both stills and video and all of my commercial and corporate assignments, as well as weddings and things of that nature. And so it was kind of taxing at the time because I was carrying Canon cinema cameras for projects, carrying DSLRs and it was lots of gear. And when Lumix announced the Lumix GH4, shooting in 4K no less, I said, man, this could really revolutionize things for me. And indeed it has. And I moved in the direction of Lumix at that time. And today I am a Lumix luminary artist. My wife is as well. She's also a professional photographer. And what that means is that when I give speaking engagements around the country or all over the world, they're willing to sponsor some of those speaking engagements and kind of allow me to visit places that I otherwise wouldn't when the budget wasn't there. And so it's just kind of cool because I have this great relationship with them and it allows me to test out cameras and use them creatively, and it also allows me to have speaking engagements around the world and share as well. I get a lot of clients these days that will ask me, I'm thinking about getting a camera. What camera should I get? And it's kind of a loaded question because there are so many cool cameras in the world today, Lumix and beyond. And everybody has a camera in their pocket already. It's a cell phone. These take some pretty remarkable photos and videos, and you can't knock this. This is an incredible camera. Yesterday I was saying during my live talk that everybody says the best camera is the one that you have with you, and I was saying I think the best camera is the one that I want to take with me. And so what's unique about Lumix, I think, to other products out there is that they have specific cameras with specific features geared towards different people and their needs. And while I love my cell phone and I love capturing imagery on it, what I really love is creating professional quality imagery. And so I personally always want to have a mirrorless camera on me so that I can really have that high-end pro quality everywhere that I go, to say the least. So I pulled up a bunch of my Lumix cameras. Some of these are kind of state-of-the-art and brand new in the Lumix lineup. Some of them are up to 3 years old. But they're still available. And so I thought I'd go through some of the specs and talk about what I like about each, because I actually do use all of these cameras for different purposes. So I want to dive into the smallest of cameras, the pocket cam. When I'm traveling, I often like to have just a little tiny camera. We do a lot of vlogging and capturing our lives from behind the scene. And this is the Lumix ZS100. And it's a tiny, tiny little camera, as you can see. In fact, it's so small that I can fit it in my jeans pocket and just, have a camera with me everywhere that's giving me that pro quality. And what I think is unique about Lumix to some other brands out there is that they don't hold back features, so to speak. This camera, just as the flagship camera does capture 4K video, so it allows me to have options at my fingertips to shoot this really high resolution video and turn that video into still photographs if I wish to. Pretty remarkable. It's got a lens built in. It's a Leica lens built in, and it has a zoom built into it as well. Let me just kind of bring in a close-up here. As you can see, it has a zoom built in that kind of comes in and out. And that's a 25 to 250 millimeter equivalent on 35 millimeters. So remarkable little point and shoot. Let me actually bring you over to the specs. I brought them up on the B&H page here so we could dive in just a little bit and talk about this camera. To me, it's about having a camera that allows me to do everything that I want. And at 20 megapixels and a 1-inch sensor, you can really blow up some beautiful large images when you're working in a 20 megapixel range. Again, it's a 10 times zoom, so pretty remarkable. It's got a viewfinder, you can put your eye to it. Of course, not as high of a quality viewfinder as some of their higher end cameras, but again, this is a point and shoot. And I find with point and shoots, I typically end up looking at the back of the camera more than anything. In 4K, it shoots both 24 and 30p, max ISO of 25,600. So to say the least, this is a pretty remarkable camera for the money at, what is it coming in at, $697 or $647 right now with the rebate. So I love this little camera. I take it everywhere with me, especially when I'm traveling. And this is a step in the right direction beyond the cell phone. So putting that down, we're going to dive in now to a camera that's about 3 years old actually. This is the Lumix LX100. What I love about the LX line when we step into this is it feels kind of retro, so to speak. It has all these manual dials on it. Let me give you a close-up here. And the manual dials are cool because it's just like working with an old-fashioned camera, yet with all the newest technology built into it. This is a Leica lens. Again, it turns on built-in lens, and then you've got a zoom built into it as well. And with that said, it's also a fast lens. What I mean by that is you're looking at a 1.2 aperture option here, and at 1.2, that means that lens is opening up incredibly large, allowing a lot of light to come through, which just makes low light that much easier and that much better. Not quite as small as the ZS100, but it's a beautiful camera system. I've used this for years. And absolutely love just all the manual dials on it. It just feels so organic, feels like a solid camera in my hands. Has a viewfinder as well for your eye, LCD on the back, and just a remarkable little piece of technology that's a little retro in look and feel, but with all the high-end technology that we expect today. Let's jump over the specs real quick. Diving in here, once again, same thing. We're looking at the ability to shoot 4K at 24 or 30 frames per second if we wish in video, so high resolution video. This is a smaller megapixel count. We're looking at 12.8 megapixels, so not pushing quite as hard on the megapixel range as the ZS100, which is a newer camera. But with 12 megapixels, you can certainly do a lot. It also, you can shoot 60p in full HD, which means you can get this beautiful slow motion. And we're looking at $697 on this camera at B&H right now, and that's a pretty amazing price for something that's got so much technology built into it. I want to step up a little bit into what I would consider a higher end camera, a little bit more of a pro range. And what I mean by that is this is now when we're going to step into having interchangeable lenses in our camera systems. Now this camera too is about 3 years old, give or take, 2.5 maybe years old. This is the Lumix G7. I adore this camera, and the reason I love it so much is the fact that this, for an interchangeable lens camera, the Lumix G7 is remarkably lightweight. We're looking at about a 16 megapixel sensor built in, so plenty of resolution to be able to print large prints from it. It's shooting in 4K video as well if we wish. I love that about Lumix. Like I said, they're not pulling features back when it comes to 4K video and the new ways of capturing both video and still imagery. What I also love about this is there's built-in Wi-Fi technology. So there's an app that works with the Lumix phone, and you can actually control the camera from the phone and focus and change your exposures and take pictures and things of that nature. And so remarkable little system for an interchangeable lens camera. I can't believe how light this is. Has optical stabilization built in, but not stabilization on the chip. So when we step into that next camera here, we'll be seeing some different technology that is giving us even greater image stabilization. But let's dive into this real quick. Again, micro four thirds, 16 megapixel sensor. Max ISO 25,600, and it's just a remarkable, beautiful little camera. At $597, I mean, we're stepping into an interchangeable lens camera with incredible ergonomics. And to me, That's just an incredible price point for an interchangeable lens camera that has all these sophisticated features built into it. Let's move over a little bit more. This is a camera that I use currently all the time. It's my favorite travel camera. I love interchangeable lens cameras because, you know, I'm always wanting to have all those options for all the great Lumix and Leica glass at my fingertips. And that is what we're talking about, the Lumix GX85. What I love about this camera is that certainly it has its interchangeable lens, it's 16 megapixels, but it was the first Lumix camera to have 5-axis image stabilization on the chip that worked for both still photography and for video. And so with that said, I'm able to hand hold long lenses with this and capture beautiful video, even at 200mm lenses in the distance. And that 5-axis stabilization built in just softens everything up. If you're a little nervous or you have the shakes, maybe you had too much coffee like I did this morning, you know, 5-axis kind of brings and softens that jitteriness and just allows you to capture buttery smooth video. This is also introducing a screen that flips up or out like this. So you can't flip it out, but you can kind of get that up angle or down angle. I love this because I can even set the camera on the ground and get low angles. Does have an incredible viewfinder built in. Not, again, as good as some of the higher end models, but still quite capable of putting it to your eye and having a really nice feeling camera here. So let's jump into the specs real quick for you. What we're looking at here, a 16 megapixel sensor once again. And this also does have the built-in Wi-Fi technology, which I love because a lot of times we're creating content that allows us that we want to have multiple cameras kind of working to our benefit. And a single operator can work multiple cameras this way because you can have one on a tripod that you're operating from the Lumix app and then one in your hands, and it just gives a lot of opportunities to do different things in regards to that as well. So 5-axis stabilization on the chip and just a remarkable camera at $597. I can't even believe that I'm holding a camera that gives me this professional quality of a result in a $600 camera system. So in fact, I find it on par with the higher end cameras in terms of the image quality, a little lower in the resolution or megapixel count, but in terms of color, quality of imagery, the GX85 is a phenomenal camera. Again, my favorite go-to camera for travel because it just can fit just about anywhere. Diving in next, I want to jump into what I consider a little bit more professional camera on the still side of imagery. This is the Lumix GX8. Let's jump in a little closer here, give you a close-up of it. The GX8 is completely different in the way that it is shaped. As you can see, it's more of a box, but the grip on this is absolutely comfortable. Maybe I should do it this way. The grip on this is absolutely comfortable, fits in my hand. This is incredibly lightweight, which I think is remarkable as well. Let's show you that you also have not only a beautiful high-end, high-quality viewfinder here, electronic viewfinder, but I love that I can flip it up and even, you know, put my eye to it, even go all the way to the ground and have this beautiful kind of old school looking system, kind of like a Leica looking camera with all these manual controls, dials as well. So it's kind of like it feels old world and organic, but it is sophisticated as all can be. Let's jump over to the specs real quick in the B&H site and just show you a little bit more about this. This does have 5-axis stabilization built in on the chip that works for still photography, but it only uses optical stabilization when we're working in video mode. So this is really built around the idea of I think the photography side of the industry rather than the video. But let's not knock it. I mean, it does do 4K at 24 or 30p, that gorgeous skin tone and color that Panasonic Lumix is known for. And at 20 megapixels, I went through a phase where this was indeed my favorite studio camera for creating portraits. And at just under $1,000, if you are looking for a camera that is going to be a still camera that takes gorgeous photographs with amazing quality of imagery with beautiful skin tones, the Lumix GX8 is a great option for that professional photography side of the industry. There's another model in between. I didn't bring it up. It's the G80 or G85. And it is kind of that step in between maybe a GX85 and the GH5, which I have in my hands here. That newer camera I don't have in my hand, so I can't share it with you today, but it is quite remarkable in that it has most of the bells and whistles that are built into the GH5. It's missing a few small things. I think it doesn't have log in it, but other than that, it really has all the features that are built into this, 5-axis stabilization, the whole works. So if you're looking for something kind of in between this kind of level and the flagship model, the GH5, I would look into that particular camera. But let's talk about the flagship here. I moved over to Lumix, again, like I said earlier, when it was the GH4 because of 4K video and all that it featured. And I'm so glad that I did at the time, because when they launched the GH5, I realized this is going to be so much stronger for what I do than even the GH4 was. It has this incredible industry-leading 5-axis stabilization on the chip and couples it with dual stabilization, optical stabilization in the lens. And so that's dual stabilization working together. What that means is, we've talked a lot about stabilization, is certainly it takes out the jitters, like we said earlier. That's great for video, great for holding long lenses. But it also allows you to hand hold if you're doing still photography and drag that shutter or keep the shutter open for long periods of time, like a 15th or 8th of a second, and capture imagery even that will be still and beautiful and not blurry, even when you are hand holding long lenses for still photography. So that is an incredible thing. It is a 20 megapixel chip, which is perfect for everything that we do in terms of portraits, in terms of all the imagery that we do. We're looking at this and saying, okay, there's all different resolutions of chip, but I come from the world of experiencing even 6 megapixel chips early in our career, and I've got beautiful 40 by 60s printed from those 6 megapixel chips up in the studio. So again, it's not so much about resolution all the time when it comes to choosing a camera, because anything beyond 12 megapixels, you're really getting a substantial camera that can do beautiful enlargements, so on and so forth. So 25,600 max ISO, 4K video. At 4K, we can go 24p. We can go, what am I saying? 24 or 30p. We can even go 60p slow-mo working in 4K, and that's a remarkable feature. 10-bit 422, bigger color space, absolutely remarkable. And this is a #1 bestseller at B&H. There's a lot of people moving and migrating out of other camera manufacturers and systems into Lumix, especially with the launch of this camera, because the specs are just out of this world. This is also the first camera from Lumix that really has the dual slots in a flagship camera, which means every time we're taking a video or we are taking still photographs, it also is backing up our data at the same time. Remarkable feature, needed for professional work, so I was so glad to see them bring that in. And at $2,000, I don't think that there's a better buy of a camera anywhere in the marketplace for a truly professional, high-end camera system. So with that said, we moved to Lumix quite a while ago because it was just the direction that we were headed. They seemed to get the modern photographer that's kind of blending all of this together and all of this technology. And that is the lineup from Lumix. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to answer any questions, especially when it comes to all the camera systems and everything that is out there. It's tough to make sense of which camera is right for you sometimes, because there are so many choices out there. And even from Lumix, look at this gorgeous lineup. They all serve a purpose. They all fit within our lives. And they all have an importance to them. So I appreciate you joining me today, just walking through the Lumix lineup and sharing kind of my passion for each individual camera. It is the weekend, so I want to wish you an incredible weekend out there, and I appreciate you joining me. Take care.